Hello friends, this is Jaytech back with a brand new series of music production videos for you here on Sonic Academy in 2022. I am a music producer, DJ, label owner, mixing and mastering engineer, and more recently online instructor, and I'm here today to help you finish your music. Writing hit records is a passion of mine. I've done it a bunch of times over the years, not to mention helped many other artists get their records to the finish line. Along the way, I've developed a 10-step process to analyze and effectively nail these records and get them out there into the world so they can be enjoyed by your listeners. I've tried to break things down into actionable steps that you can apply no matter what your skill level. And for the very first step, we're going to have a look at analyzing your existing repertoire of demos and projects so you can figure out not only what to work on first, but how to analyze what's already done and completed and what you need to focus on. So let's dive right in. Hi friends, this is Jaytech. It's video 1 here on this new series of music production videos on Sonic Academy. We're going to be talking about finishing your music, something that I have been doing a lot lately, working on my next album, not to mention helping a whole bunch of other people with their tracks as well. In this video, we're going to talk about creating your Showreel playlist. This is a quick overview reference playlist of the tracks that you currently have underway that you can look at time and again and see where you're at and what you should be focusing on. I did a poll on Twitter a little while back asking people if they tend to work on one track to completion at a time before moving on to the next one, or having a whole bunch of different tracks happening at the same time, and the result was overwhelmingly the latter. People have many irons in the fire. I think as creative types and as artists, we owe it to ourselves to explore a lot of different options for records. Some people write 10 records and then release the best one. Everyone's a little bit different, but what does invariably end up happening is you have a whole bunch of projects on your hard drive that are gathering dust, sometimes that you kind of even forgot existed because you start something, you hit a wall with it, and then you move on to something else. After a while, or after a few years in my case, you suddenly have like 100 projects on your drive, and there's probably some real gold in there that you should release, that you owe it to yourself to release. So before we start finishing any music at all, we're going to create a quick overview of everything that we've got and then start to identify the records that are valuable not only to you, but that we think are going to be valuable to your audience and to the market. If this story of a hard drive full of projects gathering dust is familiar to you, then I suggest you take a good hour and a half to 2 hours one evening to take stock of everything that you've got. Go through your projects, open them one by one, give it a quick play, make sure everything's playing back properly. You don't need to touch anything about the song right now. Maybe give it a quick touch up in the mix if you feel like it. On the master channel, I usually remove everything, then add just a little bit of mastering compression and just enough mastering limiting to turn it up to a reasonable demo volume without pushing it too hard. This is so that when you play everything in the playlist, most of the demos are playing back at pretty much the same volume and you don't suddenly get surprised by one really loud demo after a quiet one. You can use any music player of your choice, such as iTunes or Rekordbox. Really, the only important thing is that you're going to be able to order your tracks by number in the playlist. So here I have a very quick and dirty reference playlist. There's probably even more stuff to come here. I can feel it. There's going to be more demos to be piled into this playlist at some point. And what I'm really looking for here is separating the little sketches and little ideas that I've written down, and these tend to be usually like the shorter 15 to 30 second samples versus the tracks that are closer to completion. Some of these tracks I'm playing them back and going like, okay, these are actually really close, and there's only like a few small things I need to do. So let me give you a play of like some of the tracks that, you know, are starting to come to the top of the playlist here. Like here's one. I think firstly, I've got the music and the breakdown sorted out. So you get the idea. It definitely sort of sounds like something that would fit one of my sets. I can imagine playing this at a show. All I really need to do for this one is write a vocal for it. So this is definitely one that I'm going to work on. One of the reasons I like using Rekordbox for this playlist is that, you know, I'm a DJ and I'm often thinking about things from like a clubbiness and a DJ and a dance floor perspective, and sometimes just seeing it playing in this kind of Rekordbox by Pioneer interface really helps me just sort of think about it in that mind frame. What I also have here is a different current playlist, these were the tracks that I DJ'd time and time again all of last year, and they, I know that they work on the road, and so this can also be a good reference for like, what my favorite tracks from everybody else are, which can help also give me a little bit of clarity on like the kind of tracks that I'm trying to do as well. With the knowledge that you probably aren't going to be able to finish everything, what I want you to do is establish the top 20% of these tracks. That is, if you have a playlist of 50 demos, what are the top 10? These are going to be the tracks that you owe it to yourself and the world to finish. If you're the type of person who likes to play your music to your friends, I recommend bringing them in at this point to help you analyze these tracks and figure them out with you. So you might be asking, how do I know which of these tracks are the ones that I should be finishing off? I'm swimming in a sea of 50 tracks and I don't know which ones are the most important. So to assess the value, the approximate value anyway, of a track, I ask of it 3 questions. Question 1, do I love this track? I know this sounds like a bit of a silly question, but what we're really asking ourselves here is, does the musical message and sentiment of this track resonate with me in a way that makes me want to finish this song? Do I get excited about it when I hear it? And current level of production aside, can I say honestly that I love the story that this track tells? It's way too easy to work on a track without even realizing that you're not excited about it, especially when we're 30 hours into the production process and we're sort of knee deep in fiddling around with EQs and things. Sometimes it can be hard to zoom out and listen to the whole track and actually ask ourselves whether we're excited about it. This can be a blind spot for producers because we're so zoomed in on the production process and we're hearing it from the inside and we're problem solving and we're looking at our music through a very critical lens. So what this reference playlist does is it allows us to get outside of the project, listen to the record from the consumer's perspective, because that's all they're going to hear. They're not going to see any of the moving parts. And sometimes it's only when listening to things from the outside, this rendered, semi-finalized demo version, can I actually ask myself this question: do I love this song? Question 2, does this track fit my market? So when thinking about the music market, it's very easy to think about writing music with the focus entirely on making money out of a track, and that's not how I think about the market at all. I think the market is more about the pool of listeners out there who have the same worldview as you, and the people who are really gonna feel what you're going for with the tracks that not only resonate for you, but resonate for them in the same way. So this is more of a technical standpoint. We're looking at the speed, the BPM of the track. If you're writing club music like I do, you're looking at the dance floor sensibility of it. Does this fit all of the standard requirements that songs have for this corner of the market that I'm aiming for? Now, of course, you do want to break your own rules sometimes. You want to surprise your listeners with stylistic traits and themes. That's often a very good thing to do, but there's also something to be said for fitting squarely into the market that you're aiming for. For example, I write hopeful, forward-thinking, melodic, progressive house for the trance crowd. I feel that this is a sound that has found me rather than the other way around, especially if it's something like a single that I'm releasing on Anjunabeats. This is going to be something that DJs are going to want to play, which, makes me think that I'm probably not going to want to have some 3-minute ambient intro to the song. There's a DJ friendliness that I want to try and do. My tracks are usually, when I'm fitting into this space, it is between something like 124 and 128 BPM. There's a BPM range. So I do have a lot of demos on my hard drive that are kind of, ambient and chill out, and it's great to sort of collect these and put them to the side for your eventual chill out album if you want to do that. But when you're finishing off your music and you're trying to get records signed, I think it's a question of asking, okay, like which are the ones that the industry is going to be able to use? Question 3, is this a track that the world needs, or is it a project that has helped me learn something more about my sound? I think on some level, we're all excited about being creators of music. We love the creation process. And I think especially early on in the game, producers get very excited when they hit on a cool sound and they play it again and again in the studio. And they get very excited about it, and they love it, and they love it for themselves, and it's sort of a way to connect with ourselves, to write this music that we love. Sometimes I do have to admit to myself, though, that the track that I'm writing is more of a me track than an everybody else track, and people aren't necessarily going to be feeling it as much as I am. It's this weird disconnect, and there's nothing wrong with writing the music that's most true to you, and in fact, that's what people want, is when you are kind of being most yourself. But the way to think about this is, you might write 5 to 10 tracks that are sounding as much like you as possible, and then look at these and say, okay, which ones of these tracks are also going to fit into this world? Which of these tracks are also going to resonate with the listeners, and they're going to get something out of it as well. So it's a good thing to think about, and it's usually a pretty black and white thing. It's either, yes, this is something that everybody else can use as well, or this track was a stepping stone for me. It was a way for me to learn what not to do for the finished record that I do end up releasing. It's a way for me to figure something out, to practice my skills, and to learn more about my own sound. Finally, once you have your top 20% playlist of valuable tracks, your 10 out of 50 tracks that you feel it's the most important to finish, beyond that criteria, there isn't really any perfect running order for which order you should complete them in. Therefore, I suggest at this point starting with the lowest hanging fruit and starting with the one that is closest to completion. This is going to be the easiest one to pick off, and it's going to help you build up a bit of momentum for finishing the rest of your tracks as well. In the next video, we're going to look at taking one of these top 20% tracks, saving it as a new project, and preparing that project for success with some groundwork that's going to help you finish it off. So stay tuned.
Thanks everyone for watching. We really appreciate the support from you guys. If you liked this video, then smash that like button, and if you want to be notified about new content, hit the subscribe and the bell notifications. Peace!